So Donald Trump just had a stroke in South Korea. At least that is the theory that the internet seems to be running with right now after Trump, who is 79, fired off a gibberish message on his Truth Social platform that has yet again become the source of some widespread mockery and speculation about his mental and physical health. And while this gibberish example is not nearly as convincing as the plethora of evidence for a stroke that we'll get into later in this video, it is just objectively hilarious, and therefore I'd like to start with this current situation before we delve into the more serious nature of whether Donald Trump is healthy enough to even finish out his term. Either way, you can do your patriotic duty to piss this prick off by dropping a like and subscribing to Really American. And let's get into it here, folks. So today, Donald Trump is currently facing some mockery. This after I just made 2 videos in the past 2 days about his mockery over both the Epstein ballroom and all the mental glitches and gaffes that have happened while he was on his Southeast Asia tour. But today, at 10:43 p.m. local time in South Korea, the elderly president hit post on a short, baffling entry, South Korea. Although similarly, the post disappeared soon after, it lives on the Truth Social archives, and people were quick to jump on that. This article says what Trump meant by South Korea remains unclear, though I think we have an understanding of it as we'll see. The word jumble makes any interpretation speculative, and his next post offered apparently little insight. You had Governor Gavin Newsom's press office retweeting it and saying the extra D's stand for dementia. And then the Lincoln Project, who were the source of that viral video that I talked about yesterday about the Epstein ballroom, they responded to it, quote tweeting it and saying, quote, perfect MRI. Sure. Now let's just take a second here. All right? He's in South Korea and he managed to spell South correctly. And sure, maybe autocorrect got all out of whack and Korea was spelled with a C, and he was thinking about the Care Bears and his dementia took him in one direction and went to the other. I mean, that is very much how this man's broken ass brain works. I mean, John Gardner talked about it for months on the Shrinking Trump podcast and just the other day on the Daily Beast podcast.
We talked about his confusing Harvard and Harlem. Recently, he's been confusing India and Iran. You know, he's been talking about Pakistan being at war with Iran, and he's trying to broker a peace. And he says Iran several times when he's talking about India.
As an example, if you look at Pakistan and Iran, I told them I was in the midst of negotiating a trade deal with Iran, and Pakistan was going to be in line.
Well, Chris, what do those 2 countries have in common? You know, they begin with I.
Right.
That's sort of like Harvard and Harlem. So that's the level of free association we're talking about.
And is that just because he's the president and he's got a lot of details to keep on top of? I mean, I agree that getting India and Iran confused is potentially a deadly mistake. But is there any benefit of the doubt you could give him that he's, trying to master a ton of detail here?
Well, look, as an older person, I tend to give people a lot of benefit of the doubt. I mean, even on my own podcast, sometimes I say, oh, yeah, the person from Germany, what's his name? Then we have to edit that out. But he tends to mishmash them together in a way that shows a deeper level of thought disorder.
And like I said, there's even more evidence of a stroke that we'll see in just a second that is very convincing. But a lot of this could also boil down to sheer incompetence or stupidity. For instance, shortly after this picture was taken, in which Trump's throat pussy looks like it's actually throbbing here, Senator Marco Rubio can be seen whispering to his ear that they just hit his second brain cell. If you don't get the reference, you're probably too young for this channel. But then Donald Trump went on to Air Force One. He tried defending his mental acuity by repeatedly boasting that he got a perfect score on the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, a 30-minute test that screens for signs of dementia.
They have Jasmine Crockett, a low IQ person. They have AOC's low IQ. You give her an IQ test, have her pass like the exams that I decided to take when I was at Walter Reed. Those are very hard. They're really aptitude tests, I guess, in a certain way, but they're cognitive tests. Let AOC go against Trump. Let Jasmine go against Trump. I don't think Jasmine, the first couple of questions are easy. A tiger, an elephant, a giraffe, when you get up to about 5 or 6, and then when you get up to 10 and 20 and 25, they couldn't.
Yeah, and apparently the test just asked respondents to draw a clock, identify pictures of animals, and repeat back a list of 5 words.
Like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. Could you repeat the person?
But okay, now that the fun is over, there is actually some very real evidence to this theory that Donald Trump has suffered a stroke. We all saw the picture of his face drooping. We made a video about it here on the channel, and we've actually gone through a deep dive of this thread before as well. I'll link to the video below, but here it is in a shorter form. This is a thread on Twitter from Adam Cochran, who is an investor, a professor, a policy consultant, and an independent investigative journalist, who almost 2 months ago detailed that there is growing evidence that the White House is covering up the fact that Donald Trump has been dealing with TIA strokes. TIA standing for temporary interruption of blood flow, and I think the pictures of his cankles and his bruised hands show us all we need to know there, that that is actually the case in Donald Trump's physical health. Starting with the basics, TIAs are temporary blockages. You'll see symptoms, leg dragging, eye drooping, but they resolve within 24 hours. Then there are what are called ischemic strokes that leave a lasting impact, but can range dramatically in scope and severity. These TIA strokes, though, tend to precede an ischemic stroke, and about 30% of patients, and often result in long-lasting interventions to try and prevent any risk of a larger stroke. So then you have Adam pointing to, evidence from this video from Ron Filipkowski in March 2024, when he noted that Trump was dragging his right leg for a while. Then, in a Time magazine interview from right after the election, we see the first note of Trump's hand bruising. Once again, something people didn't think much of at the time. It comes up again during the Macron visit on February 25th of 2025, where Caroline Leavitt repeats the lie about it being from shaking too many hands, which we've also disproven on this channel. And then in Trump's next medical event, we see some weird new medications on his annual physician's report. I don't know how to pronounce the first 2 of these, but daily aspirin is in there. But even the aspirin is no longer recommended for prevention anymore, and is instead a regime that is used to treat something, with the other 2 medications being used to manage cholesterol and the other being used as a second in line if the patient is at high cardiovascular risk, such as prior strokes, heart attacks, or arterial disease. And as I said, this thread is extensive with a lot of evidence, and this is not one of your Nazi cuckboy alt-right pipeline or crypto bro threads that you usually see here. This has direct ties to evidence and is actually one of the best uses of Twitter I've seen in a long time for actually doing some good journalism and using real sources to point to exactly what he makes the argument about, which concludes with, and this is great, his last post, at least in August, was, "So unless the White House can provide a transparent explanation of his health that better fits these circumstances, I'm forced to conclude that they are lying to the American people and hiding that Trump had a stroke. It's time for the press to push on this and get clarity." To which I presume is a MAGA troll named Kara, which is very close to Karen, I will say, says, "I believe there is growing evidence that Adam Cochran is covering up the fact he is dealing with losing his mind." Kara posted that on September 9th. 2 days later, Adam Cochran responds with the photos of Trump's mouth drooping and sagging to the side. Someone else was like, "Are you a doctor?" And Adam's like, "Are you capable of reading comprehension?" Which I guess is kind of the point at the end of this. A lot of people are not. Trump being one of them. This whole thing stemmed from him typing on his own social media platform and posting and then subsequently deleting South Carolina. Let's be honest, folks. We've said this from day one. Trump has never been mentally or physically fit. He's been a failure of an idiot bigot his entire life. And enough other fucking failure losers decided to start a cult, prop him up, use his empty vessel of a brain as an instrument for them to gain fascist authoritarian powers and co-opt the inherent racism and bigotry and hatred of a nation that is in decline and has been for a long time. And now all those fucking idiots believe he's some kind of god king when he's failed in every business venture he ever had until the second term of his American presidency. Thanks mostly to those people who propped him up. Bankrupted a bunch of casinos, assaulted a woman, paid for sex with a porn star while his wife was pregnant. Oh, Christian values. I think I finally get it. Like, Trump supporters are such losers, and they saw this absolute scam artist loser fail his way into success. So they believed that by supporting him, they could too. And if they stop supporting him, then they give up on their dreams of ever being anything. So for most of them, I gotta say, I get it. But the part of me that is, a bit of a tough love kind of guy wants to tell them to give up. Because they never will be someone. They don't have millionaire, billionaire parents that can give them money. They will not see another time in American history in the future where they can co-opt this much hatred, because it will be stamped out by people like us. It's really unfortunate, and I take no pride in saying it, but it genuinely feels like the only hope some of these MAGA people have of becoming relevant to the extent that they want to would be through something like the violent means we've already seen of assassin attempts, or these other violent MAGA lunatics that now get broadcast by the media because it gets clicks. Like, that's your legacy. That's Trump's legacy. He's a violent piece of shit, anti-Christian human being, like pure evil straight up, probably has had sex with Satan, who sparked a violent insurrection that got a police officer killed. What the fuck do you people stand for if not killing in the name of? And the name of being a fucking cult. You sicken me. You genuinely sicken me. It's why I can't have conversations with you. I mean, I can, but I don't see the point. It's not even a holier than thou thing. It's like, I don't even believe in that shit, but my God. It's people like MAGA who take away my inherent belief in humanity. Anyway, I'm on my soapbox again. I'm sorry. I just, fuck them all. Whatever. Fuck you, MAGA. If you're watching, fuck you. If you're not watching, fuck you. If you're praying to dear Lord Jesus tonight and you still support Trump, go to hell. But don't shoot the messenger, folks. That's just my opinion. God actually told me. He came down and he was like, hey, I need you to grab a couple stones and look into a box and write this down like Joseph Smith. He said, tell all the Christians and evangelicals that voted for Donald Trump that they are sinners. And you can take my word for it that that's the word of God. Anyway, fuck this shit.